Good morning, everyone. Tis Carpo here, and I would like to talk for a moment about the virtue of patience, acceptance, but most importantly, the way we handle ourselves when we're angry. I guess the definition evades me of what I'm looking for. Having a bad day, a bad moment, being able to get over it, move forward. Very important attributes to being human. People who take a lot of pills, perhaps antidepressants, anxiolytics, many other different compounds, drugs, can have their emotions numbed and dulled to the point where sometimes they wonder if they can even cry or laugh anymore. This becomes a major concern for people because we want to feel, we want emotion. We crave it, if you will. Sometimes we go through a phase where some things really affect us. Sometimes it seems like nothing can break our, strength. Some people have or much more susceptible to becoming, to crying at the slightest hint of something sad. And some men have become so hardened after war or turmoil or just the PTSD of life in general that we look at a situation that is horrific and say, oh well, there's nothing I can do about it. You can't even shed a tear over something. I was speaking with my mom earlier, and we were talking about giving money and helping the homeless, and I was telling her about the 80s commercials, and I remember for the cup of coffee a day, you can help feed a child. People really wanted to make that difference. And often we find out later that the corruption extends to every nonprofit organization to the point where sometimes less than 10% of the money was actually going to help people, and the rest of it was in the pockets of the administrators that run the companies. And we all justify what we think we deserve. Not everybody has the option to directly help people and doing good for others. The altruism was what makes us, besides our consciousness, a byproduct of our consciousness and awareness of ourselves is altruism, regardless of whether it's something that's a social utility or something more, something deeper. It's love. What is love? Why does a male baboon carry her dead baby around for a week? She knows it's dead. She's mourning. Why? The animal kingdom has no reason to mourn. It's because she's intelligent and she understands what she's lost. The question still remains of why that's important. Why that's important to her. In other words, we as humans can sit and have discussions and read books from other people talking about how important they found life is and explaining what death is and how unfair it is that children die. Yet, in the animal kingdom, they don't need a book, they just understand it. Humans need books and morals and guides to tell them often how they should behave. Look at the Ten Commandments or the Bible, for example. Many people find the Bible a very useful tool, and they point out how so many of the things in the Bible are great ways to live. But when you reflect that upon all other religions, you realize it's just a default statement. Be honest, treat others with respect, don't take more than your share. And we seem to think this is something we've been given from either a God or created ourselves, but in fact it's not. It's a pattern. It's a natural pattern we followed. Animals all do the same thing. They have their dens, their burrows. If an animal wanted to grow a larger family and take more, they could, but they don't. They have a little battle when they come to the edge of their territories. Maybe a little scuffle ensues. Maybe somebody gains a little more land or loses a little more land for hunting grounds. But nobody intends to kill each other. These animals will scuffle for the sake of proving who's dominant. And in the animal kingdom, it's often strength, but not always, you see. Brute strength in humans is not always the path, we know that. Brute strength in animals often will win the battle. If you have the bigger horns, you might win with the elks, you know. If you have the bigger fluff on your head, bigger peacock, if you can peacock your feathers bigger, you might win that competition. But it's not always about brute strength. It can be about intellect, it can be about, rather, perhaps not intellect, but being able to be sneaky and to get around things, you know, like Goliath, you know, Samson, all these stories that you hear about people who went through these different adversities that won, that were able to beat the giant, beat the monsters, beat those who were more in tune or had more power than them merely because they were smarter or sneakier. And that is a human trait and an animal trait. So we can be sneaky humans, but animals can be very sneaky too. Anybody who's ever observed monkeys and the way they are in markets, especially in some places in India where the monkey is considered sacred, I believe it's the macaque that's considered sacred, it's a fine and jail time to harm one or kill one. So these people go to market with all of their food and basically have to hope the monkeys don't come invade their food. And you would think a group of humans with their food carts would be able to fight off these monkeys. You could put nets over your food, you could put wires, but none of it works. These monkeys are too smart. They're able to get into anything. So these monkeys learn these things through experience, but also through the collective. If you've ever heard of the 100th monkey theory, the idea that stems from this time when a group of monkeys on an island were being observed, and a few of them, I believe, were taught to crack the shell or learned on their own how to crack open these oysters to get food from these oysters. And then they taught, the young ones would observe, and they taught them, and they taught them, and they would teach their friends and their friends. And at first it started out as a great way to, you know, they seemed to be learning from each other physically by watching, observation. When a certain percentage of monkeys on the island had learned how to do this, and I believe it was around half of the monkeys, or the 100th monkey is what they called it, all of the monkeys on the island simultaneously knew how to do this and began cracking these shells. And even on the opposite side of the island, ones who had never had any connection. And this is my metaphor for the idea that when enough humans have come together and realized that we are just animals, just another part of nature, that we are not above or below any more than our intelligence allows us to be, that things are the way they are because they're the way they are. I could repeat that. Things are the way they are because that's the way they are. You can't change it by thinking about the past. You can focus on the future and try to better what you know to be important and try to instill that within your children. Think of all the old scumbags who run the political system and the banking system who are still separatists, racists, greedy sons of bitches out there that just want to have power and money. And somehow we let that reflect on all politicians and all people. We judge everyone, and it's not right. We have to remember that most people are good inherently, want to do good things, want to help each other. And it's my belief that we all have a connection that cannot be disputed or argued. that no matter how independent we are, we're useless without the whole. So realizing our place, which means realizing that we have to live among these plants, among this world, without being able to utilize it for our needs, but without abusing it. You know, the things that we have done to this planet can be redeemed. Look at what we've done to corn. We've hybridized it to the point where it works to our advantage. Nature wants to help us. We've even created wonderful things like tobacco that can be used medicinally. Has many uses, but we've turned it into a cigarette that just kills us off. But only if we abuse it. Beans and whatnot. All these foods that were designed for us to eat. Not just us, but all animals. But everything works as a perfect system. And I'm grateful to be part of this system. And I hope you all are too, because when you wake up each day, you have to be willing to say, my God, look at this. It's magnificent. Whether I live one life or a million lives. This one life is me, Joshua, this person, this Carpo, this essence. It will never be lived again. Has never been lived before. The ideas have, the metaphors, the cycles of people, the cycles of rotation, and people will tell you, oh, well, you know, sure, everything's happened before, and there was a previous Josh in me. Maybe I live in 11 dimensions. It's irrelevant. None of that matters. Here I am now. And that's what makes life an awesome thing. Just being.